Hi, Science and Magic. Welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda Helen, and I call my channel Science and Magic because I approach my life with a little bit of both elements and everything in between. My love for the human body started in my college years, well, actually, probably before that. And I studied neuroscience in college, mixed with a minor in dance. And ever since then, I've been fascinated on how to apply my understanding of neuroscience and the nervous system to everyday life. So I like to talk about nervous system care. I love to talk about feminine energy because feminine energy has a lot to do with feeling safe and relaxing the nervous system and softening. And I also love to talk about how to use nervous system care to work in a more delicious, sustainable way. Today, we're going to be talking about the energy of life moving through us. So, when you're really being pushed by something natural in life and it feels like something is flowing through you, and your main role or challenge or invitation would be to relax into that change, and how that relaxation or that movement of life flowing through can actually feel uncomfortable. This will be the first of 3 videos that I will be doing, and they will be addressing the topic that I've seen kind of circulating a lot, that I've seen come up in my clients and in my own life, this quest for things to only be easy, or for there to only be ease. Now, if you pull up my website, literally within the first few sentences of the first paragraph, I talk about the importance of ease and bringing ease into life and ease into work. And literally, my whole channel is about ease and flow. But this is because I feel that our society in general is obsessed with hard work and challenge and trial and tribulation. So I've chosen to focus my career on the opposite of that. But I did want to address that sometimes within surrender, sometimes within manifestation, sometimes within being feminine, there is moments of discomfort, and it's not always easy. So the series is called It's Not Always Easy for that reason. I think it can be easy. I think that we should have moments of ease and there should be a balance between the two. But I wanted to address that. So I've also seen in my clients when they come to work with me that if things aren't easy or they don't have ease in their lives for whatever reason, there's a feeling of shame, like I'm doing something wrong, I'm out of alignment. And I always offer the explanation that, well, there's summers and there's winters, there's spring and there's fall. There's climbing up the mountain and a going down the mountain. There's a peak and there's a valley. There's contrast in life. And so if you're in a valley, if you're in a winter, this isn't bad. This isn't wrong. It's natural. It's something that's a part of life. It's a cycle. It's a season. It's sacred. So I do want to address that. I also see that there's almost an abandonment of hard work. Like there's a desire for everything to just be flowing through and to be in flow, and anything related to hard work or effort or grit is seen as bad. And that's because I work with a fair amount of high achievers, and the high achievers, the hard work is native to them. So they think kind of like the opposite of like, okay, well, everything should be in flow. And then they just let go of the hard work and they only seek the flow. But it's really an integration and a dance of these two topics. Um, so the first video today is going to be when life moves through you. So you can think of this as the energy of a caterpillar moving into a butterfly. There's change, there's growth, it's natural, but it might be a bit uncomfortable for a variety of reasons. Brand new identity, brand new presence, not to mention all the physical force that's exerted in that transformation, in that process. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. In a couple of days, we'll talk about when you push through life. So when you are actually efforting, and several people on my channel are probably going to be like, well, I do that. We're going to address it. And this is more grit, stamina, perseverance, going and getting the thing, setting the goal, instilling the habits when it's hard, having the discipline. I'm also going to talk about why learning a new skill set actually involves agitation and friction in the nervous system, and why that discomfort is a part of neural rewiring. So that will be the second video. And the third will be when life gets tough. So that's when outside circumstances or inner circumstances present themselves and it's super uncomfortable. So these are big life events. This is grief. This is loss. This is trauma. And why it's not easy to experience these things and actually how to take care of the nervous system in the process of experiencing them. So please feel free to say hi when you pop in on the chat. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm starting with the definition of ease. Ease is defined as the condition of being comfortable or relieved. And I want to circle, highlight comfortable. The condition of being comfortable, ease. Sounds great, right? We all want to be comfortable. That feels nice and cozy. And especially if we spend most of our lives feeling uncomfortable, comfort feels cozy. Easy, defined as requiring little effort, undemanding, so not demanding, posing no difficulty, and acquired with ease. So acquired with comfort, little effort, no difficulty, easy. When we think of let it be easy, we're saying let it come through without discomfort. We're saying let it come through without effort. Let it come through with no difficulty. And that's not always the case in life. Big teachers for me in discomfort and this topic over the past couple of years, few years, have been well, being pregnant was a huge one. So being pregnant, giving birth, becoming a mother. And we're going to talk about that in this video. But there was quite a bit of discomfort as I grew life inside of my body, as I birthed that life, as I went through the hormonal changes and the life changes of becoming a new mother. I could let it be easy to some extent, and this will be how the life flows through you. So that's why we're going to talk about that in this video. But would I say it was without difficulty or undemanding? Not necessarily. Was it natural? Yes. Also, building a marriage with my husband and learning from his story. He was born in Colombia, raised in Venezuela, and worked his ass off to be here in the States. And was his path easy? No. Did it take grit? Yes. And did it take stamina and courage? Yes. So I've learned a lot from building a marriage with him. And in marriages and relationships, you always learn from each other, at least if you're open to that. And we've been learning a lot from each other. You can imagine, I'm at the opposite end with my work being like all about ease and joy and unfolding. But again, we represent masculine, feminine too within our marriage. He's primarily the masculine energy within our connection. I'm primarily the feminine. And we flow in and through each other throughout our day within that. Throughout my life, I've learned about this topic of, things aren't always easy. My mother, my parents divorced when I was 6, and my mother was able to pull herself from a 10-year marriage with my father, who was physically and emotionally abusive. So it took a lot of grit for her after those 10 years of pushing, like her brain was rewired, but she was able to pull herself from that circumstance, move across the country to another state, and start completely over. That was step 1 of the grit. And then step 2 was she was now a single mother with 2 daughters, starting her life over. And I learned so much from her hard work, from her effort, from her stamina, and from her discipline. I lost my father in my mid-20s. So this is when life gets tough. That would be an example of that. And so, was that easy? Let it be easy. No, that was really hard. Was it, comfortable? That was not comfortable. So I learned from that. Now, are there things we can do to make things more easeful? Yes, we'll talk about that. And then, of course, like heartbreaks and breakups of relationships. Are they easy? Are they comfortable? Are they without difficulty, without trial and tribulation? Not usually. So I don't think that just because we're aiming for ease and joy that we should give up discomfort and we should give up hard work and perseverance. And we should feel like something's wrong if, or we're out of alignment if things feel tough or challenging. In fact, the opposite. Stressors can help us grow. And I want this video series to reframe that view of stress or challenge. So sometimes life creates discomfort. I think that's part of the human experience. We're going to have grief in our life. We're going to have big transitions. We're going to have loss, changes. We're going to have new life in whatever form that is. We're going to move locations. Like there's so much that causes shifts and changes that can have a rub, that can feel uncomfortable. I think the statement of let it be easy, create ease in the body, ease in life, comes from when we create more discomfort on top of the existing discomfort through our mental stories, through our mind, through rumination, through the conditioning that has been implanted in our subconscious. That creates self-sabotaging behaviors, that creates the same story pattern over and over again. We can have limiting beliefs that creates more dis-ease, more discomfort in our lives on top of what's already uncomfortable. And that would be an appropriate thing to explore when, okay, let it be easeful. And I'm wondering now that I'm talking about this, what would be another affirmation that we could say other than let it be easy? I know, let it be smooth. I'll talk about that in a second. So, beliefs like I work with my high achieving clients and I see these beliefs like it must be difficult for it to be valuable. Well, it can be valuable and it can be easy or difficult. It, it could be difficult and valuable, but it could also be easeful and valuable. So sometimes, not always. Success comes from struggle is a new one. You have to struggle in order to reach success. Success has no merit without the struggle. Not necessarily. I have to work hard to make money. You can work hard and make money, or you can invest money and let that money build for you and not work hard, right? So there's never a solid, like, this is true always in all occasions. Sometimes not always. So exploring the belief systems that you operate within in any area of life, not just work. I just pulled some from examples from career because I work with a lot of high achievers. But looping these beliefs can create behaviors like in a subconscious way in your life that actually makes things difficult and they don't need to be difficult. So the prompt may be, where are you making things more difficult than they need to be and how can they be smoother? So before we address the topic of when life moves through you, I will ask you to please like this video at any point you are finding value from it. Or if you're someone who follows my content a lot and takes value from what I share, I so appreciate that support. It takes like less than a second to just like it. And it helps show the video to more potential subscribers who would also get value from my work. I have well, first of all, I want to say I miss you all. I haven't went live in a month. I went to Chile with my baby. He met his grandma for the first time, and it was a big trip for me. It was a solo trip. It was 10 months at the time, 9 months, 10 months. So traveling solo was a big deal. And whenever I travel in general, I feel that there's a big integration period. Traveling moves a lot of energy in my life and my psyche and my subconscious. So I've been integrating over the past month and just absorbing what came through. And also, now my baby just left with my husband to go visit the more family in New Jersey for the next several days. And this is the longest I'll be away from my baby. And I literally just dropped him off at the airport 2 hours before I came live. So I'll be going live. I'm going to try for almost daily while they're away. I came home and I was like, wow, I don't have to lock the baby gate and I don't have to clean any bottles or change any diapers for the next several days. And it's so quiet. So I have a lot of energy and space and openness to put forth into this channel. And I'm excited for this series. I'm excited to be here. I miss my little one already. Definitely cried after I dropped him off. But I'm excited he's spending that quality time with his dad, with my husband, and that they're continuing to visit family. At any point, if you're curious about how to explore your nervous system, as I'm talking about some of this, my program, Nervous System of a Goddess, is amazing. It is move through at your own pace. It starts with level 1, soften. I've linked it in the chat. I will also link it in the description and in the comments. And it moves through the different branches of the nervous system, how to soften the body from the inside out so that you can let life move through you. It's part learning, it's part reflection, it's part actual embodiment. Like set yourself up on a soft carpet or rug on a yoga mat and do these stretches and breathe and do this meditation. And it's intended to be experienced over a course of several weeks because the softening unfolds over time. It's not something that you can just do in a week. So I highly recommend that program. At least click on the link, check it out. I do live calls occasionally where you can connect with me, connect with other course participants. I highly recommend it. So I wanted to highlight that. I'll bring it up again a little later in the video. So examples, before examples, stress is something that occurs when a force is exerted on something. So a force, this could be a mental force, an energetic force, a physical force on the body. It is strain, it is pressure. And you can think of that as like, okay, lifting a weight or exercising, you're exerting force on your body. And what's happening from that force? There's growth. So you strength train and you get strength. You run and exert force or strain on your heart, and your heart builds in its stamina. So there are all these examples. Now, this particular one today, we're talking about not effort. Weightlifting is effort. Running is effort. Pushing yourself to instill a new habit is effort. And that's what we're going to talk about in video 2. That can be uncomfortable. Today, we're talking about effortless. So things that cause strain and stress and pressure, but it's effortless, maybe uncomfortable. And the technique is to relax, not to effort, but to relax and to let it be uncomfortable. I'm curious, what is naturally birthing in your life right now that feels completely natural and effortless? Like, not effortless in the sense where it's not causing you energy or discomfort, but that you're not pushing to make it happen, that it's just happening. Examples would be caterpillar to butterfly. Does the caterpillar effort to become a butterfly? Nope. That's life moving through that being, creating it into something new. We're in spring right now in the northern hemisphere, so all of this life that's germinating underneath the soil, underneath the topsoil. The seed will soon press up through the soil, become a sprout, and eventually blossom or create fruits or create vegetables, create leaves. That stress, that pressure of pushing up through the soil, there's a little bit of strain there. Is it effort? No, because the plant's not doing it. The life is moving through that seed, that sprout, to rise up through the soil. In my own life, and I'm going to use metaphors from this today because it's the best way I can describe it. I speak from a very body-centered space. That's how I learn. I'm a somatic learner. So when I speak, I like to draw examples from nature because I think that's sound and that's true, and also examples from my own body, from my own life. So pregnancy for me, like growing a human in my womb and my torso stretching and so many changes happening in my pelvis and my hormones. Was I willing that into existence? No. Was I nurturing it? Was I holding it? Was I letting it happen? Was I softening as much as I could? Yes. It was effortless in that way. I wasn't like, okay, let me wake up today and say, okay, heart start to grow. Okay, you know, fingers start to spread out or start to swallow and starting to like trying to direct its growth. No, I hosted it and let the baby grow within me. Birth. I am going to share a bit about my birth story today because that was the biggest teacher for me in letting something just flow through you. And it's wild. My baby will be a year in early May. So I'm almost to that year mark. And so I've been doing a lot of reflection on birth, and I'm going to continue because I feel like I'm completing that first year cycle. Was I willing the baby to be born? In my case, like I know every birth story is different. So I really want to emphasize that as I share my story, it's my story. It's my experience. Everyone's going to have a different experience. I'm not speaking on behalf of any other person and their birth story and their experience. This was my experience in my body. So in my experience, I was not willing that to happen. It just happened. He was born, and I'll dive into that in a little bit. And then yin yoga. I have a whole video called The Feminine Melt, and it's about yin yoga. Yin yoga is a style of yoga where you hold different postures for several minutes at a time, and they're not active postures. So when you think of yoga, you might think of like a lunge, warrior two, or a balancing posture, the one where you see a lot of people take pictures where they have the leg behind them and they're like, having their other hand extended out and they're balancing. Those are efforting postures, not holding those. These are more stretches that are designed to organize the body in a certain way where you can just fall into the posture and you can absorb gravity and relax. Now, what comes up in that holding is all sorts of stuff. It can start to be intense. You can start to feel fear. You can start to feel boredom. But really, the technique is to effortlessly receive. And in doing so, your body shifts. Is there discomfort? Yeah, sometimes. Major discomfort in yin. And if the postures are organized in the right way with the right support, there's no danger in them. There's no pain. You might think it's pain, but you can reframe it to intensity. And the whole key here is to yield into the discomfort, yield into the moment, whether that discomfort is mental, whether that discomfort is physical, and then you let the work happen. You let the combination of gravity, of the shape of the posture, and time help you to find change. So these are examples that I can think of, and I'm curious, whether you're watching live or in the chat afterwards, if you want to share with me what's moving through your life, or maybe you want to pause this video if you're watching the replay and just for a second contemplate what's moving through my life right now, whether it's a business idea that it's doesn't even feel like yours. It's like you're pregnant with it and it's flowing through you. Whether you are pregnant, whether you stepped into a new relationship, a new marriage, whether you have this new idea to move somewhere, I feel that you will get more from this video if you can think of something happening in your life. And then as I move through these steps, you can apply these concepts to that thing. Or you can just let these concepts float in your consciousness too. Either way. I'll say for me, within the period of a very short amount of time, I went through wild change. I became self-sufficient in my business. I got married. I had a baby. We bought a house. I changed my last name, right? Which is a whole thing. Like I changed my middle name. I changed my business name within this very short container of time. I didn't will for any of that to happen. It just flowed through. And there was so much that came up in my nervous system. Like, thank goodness that I have the tools that I have, is how I felt, because I had to just shift my identity so fast. And all of these things are blessings. Like when I say them, I'm like, wow, I feel so blessed. Was it easy? No, no, it wasn't. Actually, I had to keep up, is what it felt like. I had to just soften. And when I speak about my pregnancy and my birth and yin yoga and the caterpillar turning to the butterfly, these are very physical examples, but the energetics are similar to life transitions. And in the manifestation world, you often hear, let it be easy, let it be in alignment, let it flow. Yes, you can do all those things, but might there be discomfort in that? Yes, because of the conditioning of the mind, because of the nervous systems that we've inherited from our ancestors, and that we've grown and built a lot of times in infancy and childhood, and then throughout life. So we can be in alignment as much as possible. And there's so much that we can do, and there's so much we have power over. But also, there might be stuff that comes to the surface that might feel uncomfortable to tend to. The first technique, and I mean, this is a part of the title, is to relax. It's just to do your best to soften. Now, I did a lot to prepare for my birthing experience. I went through a program called, I think it's hypnobirthing. There's two. There's a hypnobirthing and hypnobabies. I did one of them. I can't remember the exact one, but it was about working with the subconscious. And I know the power of our thoughts and the brain and looping. And I wanted to make sure that I was instilling in my brain um, as much smoothness, as much body positive information as possible before I went through the birthing experience. Because in the media, we always, at least I always see images of women pushing and straining and having such a hard, traumatic birthing experience. And so I wanted a labor and delivery class that was geared towards the belief that the body knows what it's doing. And one of the techniques of this program was to work on relaxing. So when I was going through labor, the tendency for me was to, when I had contractions, was to pull in because it was scary or it hurt. And what I learned and what I had practiced through this program was to release my limbs, like literally like go limp as much as possible, and to relax my jaw. Now, when we engage our limbs, when we engage the arms and the legs, we grit the jaw, that's the sympathetic nervous system response. That is the fight or flight response. And you're clenching. And if you think about it, in the wild, it wouldn't make sense to give birth when there's a threat around. So it's going to clamp down the birthing process because the body thinks there's a threat. So what I would do is I'd have a contraction and I would do everything I could to just like release my limbs and release my jaw. And I'm going to start this too by saying that my birthing experience, I was able to go through it completely naturally, no medication. Well, I will say I had nitrous oxide laughing gas. And was it easy? Hell no. It was the most intense thing I've ever done in my life. Was it smooth? Yes, it was smooth. So when people ask how it was smooth. It was not easy. And I think, I think different women have different experiences giving birth, and some of them might feel that it was easy. Like I've seen some amazing videos through this program where the women were able to just let the birthing just happen. For me, it wasn't like that, but it was smooth. So I want to frame my experience in that way. The Divine Feminine Blueprint. Hi, Amanda. Hello. I love your name. I'm going through a change right now, and I find new and old identities are in a tug of war. Yes, this happens a lot. So we can make things harder by holding on to that old identity. And I'll talk about that as a step later on, because that's a huge one. That old identity wants to hang on, and the nervous system doesn't necessarily feel safe with the unfamiliarity of the new identity yet. So relaxing is huge. And when I talk about that part of my birthing experience of having throughout the contractions and throughout the experience, the intensity, the everything that happened, I had done a lot of affirmations and self-hypnosis on the body. I give my birthing up to my body and my baby. I give my birthing up to my body and my baby. My body knows what to do. And so in that moment, all the practice that led up to that time, all I had to do was relax. And it was scary, but I just knew, okay, so, and I had my doula there, I had my husband there, I had a midwife there, and they would remind me, okay, relax if I was tensing up. So where in your life are you tensing? Are you activating the fight or flight response and making it harder when it wants to just move through you? Even though it's scary, even though it's intense, how can you make it smoother? Ask the first inquiry here. So literally soften. And my course that I linked in that chat will help you do that. I believe that as we relate to our bodies has a lot to do with how we relate to our lives. And all the coaching I do, any of my courses are all around connecting into the body and building that framework. How am I relating to this moment through my body? And how is that translating into life? How is that translating into my career? And it will move you out of fight or flight. Regina, the nervous system of a goddess course finally took me out of survival mode. Worth every penny. I am so glad. That's what it's designed to do, my love. That's it. I'm so glad that it did that for you. Is there yoga in the course? Yes, there's yoga in the course. There's yin yoga in that particular course. And there's smaller classes. So 20-minute classes. I have a class called Full Body Melt. And that one, there's, I believe, 7 yin yoga classes, 60 minutes each. So that's a deep dive. And it's so, so good. Like if you really want to commit to melting, that one's amazing. But if you want to understand what's going on in your nervous system as that's happening, pairing it with nervous system of a goddess is a really nice combination. And you'll have lifetime access to these courses. So you buy them once, they're there forever. And I'm adding new content occasionally as well. So you get access to that. You get access if I do live calls in the course. So level 1 Soften is my staple course. That's like my foundational course. I suggest everyone go through that course before they would take any of my other courses. Okay, the next one, this will help you with relaxing, but to create feelings of safety. So how I did this in my birthing experience was consider who was in the room with me and did I feel safe with them, and made sure that I, met my doula. I visited the room that I would be giving birth in. I had a friend who I love her music taste, create a playlist for me to listen to. I listened to that playlist. In my birthing room, I had a huge warm tub. I love water. So I spent a lot of time in that tub. In fact, they had to pull me out. They're like, you're turning into a prune. We need you to come out. You're getting a little too relaxed. And I made sure the lighting was really low because for me, I'm so sensitive to light. So I didn't want to activate my system. I made sure someone was by me at all times because I was scared. It was really scary. I'd never given birth before. And so to have either my husband next to me or, if my husband needed a break to go on a walk, or my doula was right there and they were giving me like loving touch. So I knew that if I felt safe, that I would be able to relax. And if I didn't feel safe, if there was a lot of lights or loud noise or frantic energy around me, my nervous system would clench up. So in our lives, think about if you're going through a lot of change or if something's occurring, what can I do for my nervous system to feel safe, to relax? How can I set my environment up for that? Consider lighting. Consider where you feel safe. Do you feel safe in nature? So make sure if you're going through a big change in your life, visit your nature spot. Go watch your sunset. Go on a walk in the park you love. If there's a person you feel safe around, go out with them to coffee, call them on the phone, set yourself up for success so that you're not clenching against change, but you're relaxing open into it and know that it might be uncomfortable. So just because you're visiting your spot or you're going to your yoga class or you're going to your favorite bookstore and browsing the books and creating safety that way, and that change is moving through you, it might still feel uncomfortable. And that's okay. You don't need to feel wild joy all the time for your manifestation to come through. And in fact, you're being stretched energetically. In this case of, me sharing some of my birth experience, I was being stretched. Like my uterus was just contracting like so much. Like I've never felt that, but I kept saying, okay, uterus, I trust you. You know what you're doing. Relax the limbs, relax, like go limp, just go limp. And then the uterus would contract. And so I just did my best to set myself up for success with the safety ahead of time. I did, I had my birthing, what's it called? When you write down your plan, your birthing plan, I had that set. So I thought things through ahead of time. I knew I could rely on that. And I set myself up for success there and then I relaxed. And let's talk about relaxing with yin too. If you're in a posture where, let's say you're in a hip stretch and you're holding that stretch and you start to grit your jaw and like clench your forehead and you start to hold your breath and your diaphragm contracts, the fascia, so the connective tissue in your body, the system that's being stretched is going to brace too. And then you're not relaxing into that change. So this is a really good way to practice that softening. And then you can do your yin yoga practice in a place of safety. So you could do it, since it's virtual, in the room that you feel safe in, with your favorite blanket and pillows next to you and a hot cup of tea and like diffusing your favorite oil. So if you know that a part of your body feels like it's activated, you can set yourself up to feel safe and then practice relaxation that way. So first, relax to create an environment and feelings of safety. You do what you need to do. Like if there's something big moving through you, do that. Also, I want to say, since my little family's out of town and I'm solo in the house, I have decided to host a stretch and breathe class on a Sunday evening. I'm so excited for this. Again, hit the bell just to know when I'm going live, but also check out on my channel and maybe plan for that one because you could practice live with me. Set up your room for success and safety, and we'll stretch and breathe live, and I'll guide you through it live. And you'll see it now. I'm in my living room. I usually film in my office, but I can just really spread out and use my apartment, or not my apartment, my home. Yeah, because my little Bubba is not around. Okay. Oh, alignment. The Alignment Academy with Rima says hello. Hi, I miss you, Rima. So good to have you here. Thank you for saying hi, you guys. And feel free to ask questions in the chat and let me know what you're creating and what's moving through you right now. Like, what's the thing that you feel like is you're pregnant with, that's being that you're giving birth to, that you're a new mom to, and is it comfortable? Like, are you having discomfort? What's coming up for you? Is it fear? Um, is it delight? Is it everything in between? Definitely attending that. Yay. So glad. I've been wanting to do live with you all for so long, but usually, my baby and my husband are kind of walking around the house and my office is too small to film in. So I used to do that a lot. I really want to do one live. Okay. The third thing I did was I surrendered my experience to God, to a higher power, to harmony. Like I trusted. I, in this case, I trusted my body, but I also was I've never been in more surrender than when I was in labor, like ever. Like, I don't even think, for me, it didn't even feel like an option. It was like, this is happening. I just have to relax and breathe. That's what it felt like. And I'd done so much pre-work that and I know enough about the nervous system that I was able to do those things in the moment, but I didn't will it any moment, even to the moment that my son was born, that moment that you see often in videos where there's pushing and like straining and like gritting and like screaming. It just happened. I just had to keep up. My uterus just contracted and baby came out. And it literally, I mean, I was in labor for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, but the last stage lasted 8 minutes. And I think it's because of this pre-work I've done. And then it was also, part luck, of course. And I learned so much from feeling that energy. And I could do nothing but just let go and let it happen. And there was a lot of prayer, and a lot of that prayer came up. I chose music that was um, really spiritual and about letting go and about surrender. And I have a belief in God and that God is all loving and all harmonious. And so, because of that belief, I'm able to let go of my neural pathways and trust in life and trust in that support. All of these big changes that have been moving through my life, same thing. It's like, okay, I surrender because it's not just me doing this, it's something more. And so when you're thinking about that thing in your life that wants to be birthed, where there's a little bit of like friction and tension and not, it's not, it's effortless because this video we're talking about when life moves through you, but it's still uncomfortable. How can you surrender that discomfort, surrender the fear, surrender everything and trust that you're being guided by something bigger? One of my clients talks about how he feels that when something rises up from life, like he's a very successful entrepreneur, it feels to him like he's on an ocean and the ocean rises up the wave and he just has to stand up on his surfboard and balance, but let that wave carry him. So efforting is paddling against the wave. He's just resting on top of the ocean and a wave rises up and that the part he has to do is just balance on. That's the skill, and it's a skill for sure. But he's not moving himself. Something's moving him. And that's the best way I can describe to this surrender into the power of harmony and releasing control. The Divine Feminine Blueprint. I'm reinventing myself. And at first, it was all delight. But I surprisingly hit a snag when the manifestation started coming. Yes. This is what I want to talk about today because I think if we don't address that, these changes when they happen are uncomfortable. We think something's wrong when the snags come up, but really the medicine is in noticing the snags. It's like, okay, interesting. Fear is here. What does fear feel like? Actually, we'll talk about that next. So reframing your judgments as sensations. So let's say the snags, I'm curious what the snags are for you. I don't want to assume, but like, let's say it's fear. Let's say you're resisting. The resistance is the clenching. It's the pulling in. It's the like racing. So we address that. That's the relax. But let's say then fear comes up, which is going to cause clenching again. Or let's say unworthiness comes up. So you reframe your judgments about what's happening as sensations in the body. And you say, okay, I'm hitting a snag. I'm feeling unworthy. Don't tell yourself a story about why or what. Get out of the mind and go into the body and say, okay, unworthiness feels like this. Let me sit with that for a second. Let me hear it. Let it vent. Let it come through my body. It's going to feel uncomfortable because who likes to feel unworthy or who likes to feel fear or who likes to feel anger? But you feel it. It vents. It passes. Then you can more embrace your manifestations. I started freaking out that what I wanted was actually coming to me with ease. Okay, funny, right? So things come to you with ease. Life's moving through you and you start freaking out. Now, why? Right? What's coming up? What's freaking out? Is it fear? So if it's fear, rather than say the story and start to create a story around it, say, hi, fear. I feel you. And then notice the sensations, notice what's happening in the body, and just sit with it as best as you can. Can you talk about how to soften the face? I look tense when I'm not. Yeah. So face massage is amazing for that. Where do I have the face massage? I either have it in soften or I have it in glow level 2. I think it's in glow level 2. But you can literally massage out the face. So like massaging out the forehead, rubbing out the brow, massaging out the jaw. This is actually a really big point that we hold a lot of tension in our face. So if you can consciously soften the face, it's this body up response to your nervous system that you're safe. So I get acupuncture a lot of times too for my jaw. So you could ask them, to help you with facial tension. You could get some needles in the jaw, one in between the eyebrows, a couple of up here, and it just really, really relaxes the face. And notice what you're thinking, right? It's like, are you really focused on something? If you're focused, you're going to furrow the brow. Another thing you could do, when I think about facial tension, I think like forward. Feel your backspace. Just try it right now. Just rest into your backspace. Like literally notice your back and feel your hips on the ground or your feet. And then take a deep breath into your belly. Now you're able to widen your gaze around you. And then the face can also widen. I hope that helps. So divine, literally told myself today, I'm going to ride the wave. There you go, Rima. Ride that wave. Balance, breathe, have that skill set of not falling off the surfboard or jumping off because you're self-sabotaging. Just ride it. And it might feel exhilarating. There might be fear because it's moving really fast, but balance, breathe, be in your body. It was resistance. This is regarding the freaking out with what was coming to her with ease. So she was feeling resistance, fear, and unworthiness. That resistance is that tension. So find a way to soften. You could practice yin yoga, whatever you need to feel safe to soften. Fear and unworthiness. Yeah, those three things. So that fear of like, oh my gosh, this is unfamiliar to me. Actually, can I step into this? Is my identity? Feel your fear. Feel your fear. Let it be there. You're not wrong. You're not out of alignment. You just feel it. Feel the snag. And that unworthiness, what does that feel like in the body? And I think some of that you could explore, like the past. What does your inner child, where did that unworthiness come from? Is it conditioning from society? Is it conditioning from family? And is it something that you want to believe now? Like pulling it into conscious awareness in a pragmatic way can be really helpful. What's not helpful is repeating that pattern over and over again in the brain and looping it. Thank you. The backspace helps. Yeah, that came as I was talking. I'm like, actually, as I was like clenching my face, I was leaning forward and I was like, okay, feel your backspace and then widen your eyes. So rather than narrow focus the eyes, take in your whole environment and that'll widen the face. Alignment Academy with Rima. Any thoughts on surrendering the timeline, but also working with the time within a timeline? Oof, surrendering the timeline, but working within a timeline. What's coming up for me is get into presence in the moment. So timeline is linear time, and that's important, holding that linear time frame, but working or coming into the timelessness of the moment because so much can happen just within a moment based on how you're being within that. So what's coming up for me with you is having a conscious awareness of the timeline, but like realizing that it's kind of like in some ways, in the feminine way, it's a little bit of like a facade and being like, what's this moment? How can I come fully present in my heart in this moment and be timeless within my timeline? I hope that helps. Okay, so we've done 4 so far. We had relax, we had create an environment of safety, and we have a prayer to a higher power of harmony, of love, something that's beyond conditioning. And then we have reframe your judgments about what's going on as pure sensations. So for me in my birthing experience, that would be reframing pain as intensity because what my body was doing was natural. My body, like the contractions of my uterus, oh my God, it felt so painful, but it was intense more than anything. It was like energy. And then contractions in my program that I did, they talked a lot about reframing words. So rather than saying contractions, I'm using contractions in this video because it's the most commonly used vocabulary. But in my experience giving birth, I referred to them as surges. So, there's a surge. It's not a contraction. It's not a pulling in because then my whole body's going to pull in, but there's a surge happening in my body. Can I relax around it? So how can you reframe your vocabulary about what's happening? And then rather than have judgments like, oh my gosh, this is painful. Okay, no, this is a sensation that's really intense. Or there's a contraction happening. Or I'm trying to think of how you could reframe this, in life. Like that, this would be about taking like, okay, fear is here, but rather than have a story about fear, fear is my heart is beating really fast. Fear is my stomach is clenching. Fear is I can feel the tension in my jaw. Okay, high fear. Rather than it be, okay, it's bad. I'm feeling fear. I'm out of alignment. I'm wrong. Nope. It's part of the manifestation process for many of us. It just is. It just is. It's part of growth. It's stress. It's not always easeful. It's not always easy. And that's okay. Relax around it. Don't make it harder. The next thing is to, as much as possible, move attention away from the mind and into the heart and the body, mostly the heart. But the mind is going to hold all of the conditioning that holds our past identities and it holds our past stories, it holds our fear. And the heart holds more of our essence. It holds unconditional love. There's an actual nervous system in the heart. And so dropping the attention into the heart is a very intelligent thing to do. And you do that by just being here. So now I'm really aware of my heart because my hand's here. I'm thinking about it. I can feel my energy in my heart, and it feels very different than when I'm in my head. So if I was in my head during my birthing experience, actually I was several times, and I felt like I was going to die. I said that to my midwife. I said, I feel like I'm going to die. She was like, I understand that the sensations are overwhelming to you right now. And but if I came into my heart, it was so heart expanding. But my brain, my mind felt so scared, so full of fear that at times I felt like I was going to die. And then I would come back to conscious awareness and I would relax and open up and surrender to my body. So I ebbed and flowed between these things. And, what came out of it was the most beautiful, like my baby. It was the best. Was it easy? No. Is that a bad thing? No. So don't always just like aim for that ease. Like it's okay if fear comes up. It's okay if you constrain sometimes, but then you relax out of it and you just have your human experience. Also, we can self-sabotage if our attention's in the mind a lot. This is where we have the identity, the ego, the personality. It's like, okay, well, I'm stepping into this brand new personality, this brand new version of myself. And, me within the period of very short time, stepping into wife, stepping into mother, changing my last name. That wasn't always easy. That was like, whoa, what's happening right now? I need to like integrate. I need to catch up. Um, and there were times where I could sense myself self-sabotaging, like I don't have this identity yet. I'm going to, yeah, just like my behaviors would, I'm like, what am I doing? So building consciousness, bringing that attention back to the heart, back to the heart, back to the heart, because the mind is going to want to grasp on. And with these changes happening in your lives that you're sharing with me, thank you so much for sharing. Connect into your heart as much as possible. Do a heart meditation. I have a heart meditation on my neurosound meditation album. It's for free. I'll actually just list it. I'm going to put it in the chat. For those of you who don't know it, it's called Brilliance and it's on SoundCloud. And I'll put the album here, but it's you'll see it. It's called Heart Coherence. You can use that to connect to your heart. And there's a whole heart module in level 2 Glow of the Nervous System of a Goddess program of how to connect to the heart. There's a yin yoga practice, there's meditations. And this would be a really, really powerful thing to do when you're in a space of great change, because the heart knows. The heart knows the big picture. The mind wants to protect you, and that's great. We need protection at times, but to balance that out with connecting to the mind, super important. I started a new job that feels really big, and I keep thinking, why me out of everybody? Yeah, and that's that unworthiness. And so just sitting with that and feeling what that feels like in the body. Like when I feel unworthiness, I can feel like my shoulders roll forward, my chest cave in, and like my face kind of droop. I become small. And the technique would be to just let yourself feel that, like, hello, unworthiness. It's just an emotion. It's not truth. You see it as the emotion it is, you feel it as it is, and have this imagery of letting it vent, letting it be heard, letting it, share its sensations, share its feeling, and your consciousness is watching it. And eventually it will shift once you feel it all the way. And what's after that? Just watch what happens. Intense is a great word, not personal or judgmental. Exactly. So sensations in the body are not judgmental or personal. And that's why bringing your experience into that takes this out of storytelling and ruminating thought patterns and self-sabotage and into the direct energetics that are moving through the body. Thank you, a game changer. I'm so glad. That's what came to me for you, is like timelessness. Like, don't ignore timelines. They're important. We're living in this space of timelines, but also like, can we be timeless too? Okay, the sixth, get yourself some support. Get support, support, support. The support team for me and my birthing experience would be my midwife, would be my doula, would be my husband. Those are three people that were there. And I would say much of my support, during pregnancy, I got a lot of support. I'm actually going to be sharing about my third trimester experience early next week. I've been meaning to do that. I have one for my first trimester and second trimester, but I'm going to share reflections of my third. And I had a lot of support from healthcare practitioners throughout that time to, nourish and support my body to do what it was naturally doing. I was uncomfortable at times, for sure. Like, growing a human in your body is no joke. The way that your structure, sometimes has to compensate for certain injuries you've had, or the hormones running through your body, my goodness, or any way that your nervous system was maybe wired as an infant would actually postpartum for me, it was really challenging. And this is part of why this video series of It's Not Always Easy is coming through, because I had such a year full of blessings, but it was also a really, really intense year. And coming back to our definitions of ease, what was it? Ease, the condition of being comfortable. Nope. And easy, requiring little effort. That I'll say, but that's because today we're talking about the energetics of effortless. Easy being posing no difficulty and acquired with, ease, acquired with comfort. Nope. I wouldn't say that that was my experience postpartum. And I will be opening up and sharing about my experience in the near future and talking a bit about that and how it relates to manifestation, because I manifested a lot in the past couple of years, a lot. But my experience wasn't always in alignment, and I wasn't always making it harder by my conscious thinking. I have all the tools in the world, but a lot of it was the wiring that happened for me when I was a baby, from my traumatic childhood with, my abusive father, and the lack of safety I felt as a child with my mother and father arguing. And I thought that I worked through so much of that, and it came up when I had my baby. And so I had to have a lot of support, not just giving birth. That part was really intense. But for me, the postpartum, that is when I sought support of, so much support, but for sure, a therapist who specializes in the transition into motherhood. I worked with my somatic experience practitioner to process through some of the trauma coming up. And I sought out moms groups. I was in this like newborn group. We would all take our newborns to this. We were so like tired, and we would just sit there and our babies would be fussing. We barely made it, but I sought out community. I sought out support from an acupuncturist. I sought out support from an osteopath. So when you're going through a big, intense change, where can you seek out support? There's something called co-regulation, where you your nervous system regulates by being around another safe nervous system. So for me, when I was giving birth, regulating with my doula there, and she could stay calm, or my husband could stay calm for me, it told my body, you're safe. Knowing that I labored for quite a bit at our place, actually. I was surprised by that, honestly. Like, my birth center was very much like kind of stay at home until it becomes very so you're pretty far along. the process. And so it was my husband and I just for a long time laboring. And I felt comfortable at our place, but there came a time where I was like, I want my midwife. I want my doula. Like I want my team here at this point because I'm getting nervous. Like I don't know enough about this process to feel supported. So I having that team, like who's your team? Who's going to help you birth this time in your life, this thing? It could be a coach, it could be a therapist, it could be an entrepreneur group, it could be a mom's group if you're a new mom, if you know, it could be whatever it is, but who are you co-regulating with? And when you're uncomfortable, who's holding you besides just you? It's a really important question to ask yourself. Honestly, becoming a mom, like being pregnant, so vulnerable, and the giving birth and then the postpartum, like I have never had to receive so much support in my life. So much. I mean, especially in those early days, I had a friend set up a meal train and I had friends cooking for me and bringing me that food. And I'll say this, if you have a new mom in your life, please just cook her a meal or bring her food. I just think I have such a different outlook on that now because I was so hungry and my body was repairing itself. And then I was breastfeeding. So, which is really, I mean, it just, for me, it felt so depleting to breastfeed. I needed so many more calories and I had no energy to cook. So I literally just needed people to cook for me. I'd never been like that in my life. So I set myself up in that way and it was still really hard, you know? And so really reflect on that. Like, what do you need? Um, what do you need around you? Who do you need around you? How can you set yourself up to feel supported? If this change for you feels really activating for your system, and how can you receive? And that's going to put you into feminine energy too, of this like, let people help you or hire help, you know, like whatever you need around you. This is so timely. Intense is resonating with me. No judgment, intense and powerful. Exactly. What's the energetics of it? How can you take the judgment out of it and just feel it purely for what it is? You know, there's like instability. What does unstable feel like in the body? If there's anger, what does that feel like? So I'm going to go through, I have six techniques just as a review. And feel free to ask questions as I do that because I'm done with my part of the sharing. This is so nice to be back. I missed you all. I really did. So again, we're talking about, if you've joined late, please give this video a like. You all know that helps me a lot. We're talking about, this is the first video of a 3-video series called, It's Not Always Easy. This video is about when life moves through you. I've given a lot of examples, like how to just relax around the natural flow of life, whatever that is, whatever the transitions are. The next video will be about grit and perseverance. It'll be when you push life, because sometimes you need to push through life. And so I'm going to talk about, neuroplasticity and how there's inherent friction in that, and there's a rub, and that's okay, and how to create habits in your life and discipline around those habits to compound them into something big. The third is going to be about when life gets tough, because life gets tough sometimes. We have big life transitions, we have overwhelm, we have trauma, we have tragedy. These things happen. And sometimes the term let it be easy is like, screw you. Sometimes when someone says, let it be easy, you're like, well, it's not. And so when life gets tough, we'll talk about that, like how to move through it with a bit more smoothness. And I think shifting from easy to smooth, like that language might be helpful for you. Like, let it be smooth. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. For me in my birthing experience, making it harder would have been clenching my limbs, would have been gritting my jaw, would have been holding my breath. Well, that's another thing I didn't talk about. Breath. Oh my gosh. There's often I wanted to hold my breath, but I learned breathing exercises so that in my birthing experience, I could breathe. I knew how to work with my nervous system in that moment. Even though I could barely think, I practiced it enough to just do it in the moment. So yeah, letting things just be smooth, not making it harder. So using let it be easier, maybe let it be easier would be a good term, or let it be smooth. Like that's a state of surrender. That's allowing, that's not resisting the discomfort. Because in my opinion, any sort of growth can be a bit uncomfortable, and you can make it more uncomfortable by judging it. Okay, so the 6 things, just to recap, again, feel free to ask questions in the meantime. Relax, relax that body, soften your nervous system. Literally, like, just let the life move through you. Notice where you're resisting energetically or physically the change that's happening, what wants to be birthed through you. 2, create feelings of safety. So, what's your environment? Is it safe? Can you seek out spaces where you feel resourced and be intentional to visit those spaces or visit those people that help you feel safe? That's going to help you soften and relax. 3rd, prayer. This resonates with you. Surrender to something higher, surrender to God, surrender to the divine, to angels, to the universe, whatever your terminology is, but pray. Like, let go, trust that life is moving through you and for you. 4, reframe your judgments, like take judgments out of it and instill them with sensation. Bring what's going in your mind, distill it into like an emotion or an embodiment, and then bring that embodiment down into the body and sit with it and listen to it and feel it. 5, move attention as much as possible from the mind into the heart. Over and over again, let the heart lead you. Connect to your heart in a regular way, in a practiced way, and refer to the heart for guidance. And finally, 6 is set yourself up with support, 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 support. Let yourself co-regulate with other nervous systems. Let yourself be in community. Let this change become normal, like normalize the change. Let yourself receive help, like step into that humility, that humbleness. Like right now, I need to receive help. And if you have trouble receiving, I have plenty of videos about receptivity and how to receive and how it's a sacred thing. So that's what I have for you today. It's so good to be back. I'll be going live throughout the next several days, so please hit the notification bell if you want to be notified. I hope to see you for my live stretching and breathing class on Sunday night. And also check out my Nervous System of a Goddess program. Highly recommend it. I am so in love with that content. And if you want some personalized support, you are welcome to do an introductory coaching package with me. You can do 3 sessions and just sign up for it. No fuss. The link is in the description. And if you want a longer term coaching program, you can apply to that. You'll just visit my website, go to the coaching tab, and you'll see different packages and a link to the application. But if you just want to try an introductory package with me, you can just purchase that. I'll be in contact with you and we can set that up. That's all for me. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. You're all amazing. Blessings to you and the creations that are moving through you. May you be able to relax. May you feel safe in them. May you love anything that feels uncomfortable and just know that that's part of the process. Mwah.